Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Taurus for September 2015. Go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, where you can see a list of my current offerings, as well as sign up for my free email newsletter, which makes you part of my community, which brings you all kinds of perks. So we've got a wild month this September. We've got Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and the eclipses to talk about. Eclipse time brings in massive amounts of change, often with a quickness that's astonishing. So we were going to spend quite a bit of focus on the eclipses, but we do have to talk about these other retrograde transits as well. So Venus rules love and beauty and money, and actually Venus is one of the rulers of Taurus. All of the signs have at least one planetary ruler. Some of them have more than one. And when we have a planet that is our ruler, that is doing something notable, it can affect us more. So Taurus people are more affected by their ruler being retrograde, Venus being retrograde, than other people might be. Now, there has come to be an association with retrogrades that they're negative, and it's totally not true. There's just a time for different things and a time for other things, much like when you are in school and now it's time for math class and you sit down and you're in math class and all math is around you and math is going on and math is what's going on right now, and then the bell rings and then you're in history and history is what's going on. So astrology is very much like that. There's just different things that are just going on right now, and that's what it is. So retrogrades are the same way. Retrogrades are amazing for some things and they're terrible for other things. I gave a comprehensive, very comprehensive talk about Venus retrograde in a separate video. So I highly recommend you do a search, Annie Botticelli YouTube, Venus retrograde, and check out that video. It's very comprehensive. And it goes into a lot of the caveats and the what if I have to do this thing I'm not supposed to do, and why are we focused on all of this. But I'm going to give you a very brief review right now. Venus goes retrograde once every 18 months. It's retrograde for about 7 or so weeks. But there's a 1 month-ish shadow period beforehand and a 1 month-ish shadow period afterwards. So the whole transit's about 4 months. And for us this year, this started at the end of June, the shadow period started, then July 25th, Venus went retrograde, and then September 6th, Venus officially goes direct. But the shadow period ends in October 9th. So the whole month of September is focused on Venus retrograde. This is a time to go back over things, go back over your business, go back over your love relationship, go back over your design projects, go back over ideas that you had for cosmetic surgeries, which, by the way, they're the worst timing to do that is when Venus is in retrograde. You definitely don't want to do that if you can help it. Go back over all these things and be working on bringing things to a higher level of resolution. So an example of that, let's say you have a website already. You're not launching a new website, but you want to change the theme, you want to play with some content, you want to work with some plugins. Those are fine things to be playing with. This is a perfect time to try things on. So you want to see what's the response, test different things. What's the response if I do this? What's the response if I do that? How is this getting me closer to what my ultimate goals are? What are my ultimate goals? The same thing with relationships. It's not the best time to make a huge commitment with someone that you're already with or someone that you've just met, because you're not really seeing clearly. It's like you put on different glasses, and the glasses can either be rose-colored where you're seeing everything better than it is, or they can be super critical where you're like hyper beam focusing on everything that's negative. So that's why in the don'ts, it's not a great time to make a huge decision either for or against a certain relationship while you're in the retrograde, because you're just not seeing clearly. But it is a great time to evaluate these things, to ask the questions, to try different things on, to take a trip on your own if you're having trouble in your relationship, to spend a couple of weeks with a family member if you're having trouble in your relationship, to go to counseling with your partner. If you have no problems with your partner, it's just you haven't got to see each other very much, then taking the time to go on a trip together or just carve out more time together. A lot of times the Venus retrograde can bring a lot of harmony back into a relationship that has either been suffering or has just been neglected because of life. So these are good things to continue to do when Venus is in retrograde. But as far as your huge decisions, if you can help it, try to save those for the end of October when the energies will be more clear. And definitely check out my Venus retrograde video because there's a lot of points that I didn't speak to. So then we have Mercury retrograde, and Mercury is going retrograde September 17th, and Mercury rules communication and transportation. So between Venus and Mercury, it rules like most of the things that we deal with in our lives on a day-to-day basis. And so when Mercury is retrograde, and this happens way more often than Venus is in retrograde, this happens about half our lives. So 8 to 9 weeks, 3 to 4 times a year, we've got Mercury shadow, retrograde, or post-shadow going on. So again, I just did a brand new Mercury retrograde video so that I can speak to a lot of the caveats and questions that people tend to ask, and what do you do about this? I put all that in the video. But in general, if you can avoid signing papers, buying things that are communication devices, phones, computers, cars, that would be a good idea. It's a great time, however, to research items that you really want to purchase, and then wait till the energies are more clear if you can help it. And if you have to buy them in the retrograde, I spent a while explaining what things you can do to cover your butt and to protect you from some of the possible things that could happen in the Mercury retrograde video. But we've got this energy of Mercury retrograde all of September. So September 17th, Mercury goes retrograde until October 8th, but its shadow period started August 29th. And its shadow period on the back end goes till the end of October, October 24th. So there's several things that are significant about waiting until the middle towards the end, more the end of October, to make your decisions, launch your things, make life-altering decisions. One is that the Mercury shadow period has passed. 2 is that the Venus shadow period has passed. And the 3rd is that we're a month from the last eclipse, which we'll talk about those now. So September 13th is the solar eclipse, 20 degrees of Virgo. September 27th is the lunar eclipse, 4 degrees of Aries. And eclipse time happens, we call them spring and fall eclipses. They don't actually always officially happen during what would officially be called spring, like after March 21st, or after what would be called fall, September 21st. But they happen around those times. And so massive amounts of change tends to come in, but this is going to depend on how it's hitting in your personal chart. So you might be a person during an eclipse season saying, what is all the to-do about? Why is everyone freaking out over the eclipses? I don't have anything going on at all. And that's going to happen depending on what degree the eclipses are at and how those hit off or don't hit off of angles or planets or placements in your chart. You might not be really affected. You might be a person who's holding space for the other people who are having the most profound life changes possibly right in front of you. And that's very common in eclipse time, that you're either the person whose life is just being completely changed, or you're a person that's holding space for that person. But in any case, it's a big thing, you know? And often eclipses, even if you have an intuitive feeling about it, or if something is pending and then the eclipse brings it in, there's always this energy of surprise, like a jolt, and that's for better or worse. Sometimes when really good things come in, you can be just as surprised and feel like, shaky and jolted because it surprised you. Even though it's so good, it surprised you. And the best of times and the worst of times often come with these eclipse cycles, because the lunar eclipses, they're powerful. They have the energy of 3 full moons. Lunar eclipses happen on full moons, and they have the energy in triplicate. So that fullness, that wholeness, that completion, that ending, the goodbyes, the chapter closings that happen at full moons, and drama sometimes, that happens times 3 with the energy of the lunar eclipse. And so something ends. Energy is closed in that area of your life. And the solar eclipse happens on the new moon, and that is like a new moon times 3. That's new openings, new beginnings, golden opportunities, total trajectory changes. And that's another reason why we don't recommend making huge decisions during eclipse time. So you've got the 3 reasons: Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and the eclipses, as reasons to try to not initiate something huge. Again, you can try things on, you can work with people, you can have some discussions, like if you're on the fence as to whether to leave your job or not, you can talk about a different possibility, or try, what part-time, or, there's a lot of things that you can do as far as trying things on. But like actually making the decision of whatever it is, we want to try to avoid that, because news may come right after you made a decision. Like, for instance, let's say you're the breadwinner and you decide, okay, I'm going to make this creative path a go. And maybe that's a good idea, maybe that's your life path, but in any case, the next day you get news that your partner is pregnant, and now it's like, you need the job. So there's those kind of things that happen at eclipses where all this energy is brewing and it makes people want to do something, like force a decision or make something happen, because it's so uncomfortable often. And often humans, when they're uncomfortable, they feel like they have to do something about it. And this is very common at the eclipse time, where people are just like trying to force something left and right, and they're getting bounced back and not able to do anything, because this spirit is saying, hold off, just hold off. There's information coming that's going to be relevant to what you're trying to do here. So we look at the signs and we look at the houses to see how these eclipses might affect us. Now, everyone will experience the energies of lunar eclipse in Aries, because that is happening for everyone. Everyone will experience the solar eclipse energies of Virgo, because everyone's experiencing that. But depending on your sign and your rising sign, your sun sign and your rising sign, you're going to experience these eclipses in different houses or fields of experience, and that's going to add a specific flavor for your sign. So we're going to talk a little bit about both of those, the general implications that most people will feel in some way, and the specific for Taurus implications. So people can experience eclipses often on more than one level. So you might have more than one manifestation of a lunar eclipse, more than one ending or completion. And the solar eclipses might bring in more than one opportunity or new thing. And within that, again, as we talked about, the degree to which you experience this is often going to happen depending on where the eclipse falls in your chart. Everything in astrology is mathematical. Astrology is an art, but astrology is also a science. And science is based in math. And the math has to do with the angles and the connections, the mathematical connections between events or placements. So that's why a certain angle is going to bring in more intensity than if it's not really making a certain angle or connecting with your chart in a certain way that activates things. A lunar eclipse in Aries brings a closing or ending or crisis or drama or event or attention needed to something having to do with your personal self, your addiction, your body, your health, your way of doing things, your habits. And so many people are going to experience some kind of health crisis or scare or close miss of some kind where it makes them start to rethink things. And that's going to be a big theme, where someone is, or maybe someone has an addiction that they've been kind of getting away with doing whatever they're doing, but then someone close to them has something happen and they're like, I need to do something different here. There's going to be a lot of energy like that happens around the eclipse. So that's the energy of like an event or a closing or a completion. And then the solar eclipse opens this energy in Virgo, which is the house of health. The first house is the house of the physical body. When we look at health in the chart, there's a lot of different things we look at, but two of the first places I look are the first house and the sixth house. The first house has to do with your physical body, so a lot of physical things can come up there. But your official house of health is the sixth house, and these houses are the ones that are being highlighted for everyone this eclipse time. So Aries, the first house of the physical body, has this closing, this ending, this jolt, this something that happens. And then the sixth house, your health, your focus, your nutrition, your diet, your lifestyle, has this great opening. So if you have something that goes on and you haven't yet gotten onto that path of, okay, the good news of like, what are we going to do about this? So what I'm saying is, if you have something that happens, just remember that the closing that happens, or the event that can be challenging, is often equal to the opening that comes. So if you have a health crisis, then the way that you can get on your new healthy path is going to have as much equal energy, So you just have to step into that. Sometimes we have something like that happens, and that makes the rest of your life so much better because you totally changed your life. There's going to be a lot of energy around that. Solar eclipse in Virgo also opens new workday experiences, new home experiences, wherever you spend your day-to-day. It's the house of your day-to-day. Some people spend that in an office. For those people, something new can happen there. Maybe a new boss that you like better, maybe new coworkers, maybe a new position, maybe new rules at work that really support your workplace experience. That's going to be a huge theme. Some people are going to wind up leaving their work, and then their day-to-day is going to change because they're not at work and now they're at home, you know? So whatever that looks like, something new is opening up in your day-to-day schedule, your routine, your what you do every day. So these are general. Now specifically for Taurus, the energy for you early degree placements of Taurus, and if you don't understand the difference between early, middle, and late degree Taurus, consider going back and listening to my August horoscope. I went into more detail about how these early, middle, and late degree placements, how we experience things a little bit different. You know, it's like, you know, you're on a line of experience and something is coming through. I used a marching band example, but in any case, so certain early degree placements are going to experience things beforehand or in a stronger way than certain middle or late degree placements. And you can figure out your degree placements by looking online for a free birth chart and putting in your information and seeing what degree. It's going to be somewhere between 0 and 29 degrees. From around 0 to around 10 degrees is early, for around 11 to 20 degrees is like middle, and 20 to 29 degrees is late. And it doesn't fit nicely into that exact bucket. You know, nothing in astrology is ever really exact. From what I've seen, you know, there are certain things that will be absolutely exact, but most things are in a gray area. So how you're going to experience this depends on your degree. You early degree placements are more likely to have the effects of the lunar eclipse, this closing, this ending, happen in the 12th house. And the 12th house is the house of quiet, sabbatical. It's also the house, another house where we see addictions come up, or belief systems or blocks or unconscious blocks. So either you're having a time that was quiet and peaceful close in favor of a new busy time because the solar eclipse is opening up in your 6th house. Okay, so that's what that energy looks like. Like the 12th house is, you know, quiet, peaceful, meditative, and then the 6th house is like busy, busy, active, you know, so that could be what's happening. Some people will have a mental belief system that ends, that shifts, and then it opens them up to greater health. A lot of times the physical problems we have are based in a mental or emotional issue, and vice versa. So this relationship between body and mind is very strongly highlighted for Taurus, especially earlier degree placements, or if your birthdays are earlier in the sign. And then the middle degree placements, and actually most of you are going to experience the energy of these eclipses in the 5th and the 11th houses. So energy closing or ending in the 11th house, which is, and actually some of you early degree placements may also feel this, but it's more likely for middle to later degree placements to feel what I'm about to say. So a closing in a group, a club, a team, an organization, a humanitarian effort, something involving social things, a friend, an acquaintance, social media, internet-based things. An ending or a completion or closing happens there. Could be a friend is moving away. It could be a group that you were involved in, the group dissolves, or you become not in resonance with the group anymore. Or you move and you're away from your tribe, or whatever that looks like. So the energy that's opening at the same time is in the 5th house. And the 5th house is romance and children and pregnancy and adoption and creative projects and music and athletic things. Also, you know, singing and playing instruments and art, artistic expression in its many different ways, hobbies, fun. So some place of you being out in community in the world is closing, and then what's opening is something for just you, something you like to do, something that you enjoy, something that's fun for you, perhaps a new love, or perhaps an old love comes back into your life. Definitely look at the cautions for new love coming in September, because like I talked about earlier, if someone comes in September and you've never met them before, you have no ties to the past with them, try to not make any hasty decisions until the end of October, where you can kind of see them a little bit more clearly. But it could just be more romance comes into the relationship that you're in. So this energy of you out in the world closing, and this energy of something personal to you and your expression opening up, that's the major theme for most Tauruses. So I can't see what's going on in your personal chart. I'd like very much to. If you'd like some help navigating through these times, go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, where you can see more about my personal coaching, and you can move forward with the booking process. You can also see more about my Shine program, which is a virtual coaching program that's available on a sliding scale. It's a 28-day virtual coaching program that spans a moon cycle. That's intentional. And it has 28 videos and 28 podcasts that lead you through this journey to clearing out the blocks that are interfering with you stepping into your highest expression. And while you're there, also check out my Unleash Your Money Magnet webinar, which is a power-packed webinar that is full of tools to help you change your financial paradigm. If you work this much for this much outcome, and you want to start working this much for this much outcome, that's the program for you, because that is what it's intended to do. So while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter, become part of my community. I do a special write-up for the upcoming month that I send out in my email newsletter that can help you with your planning process, and often I talk about things in there that I don't talk about in the horoscopes. So I hope you have a wonderful September. Take care. Bye.